Oh, hang on. Paul and Paul, it's the podcast. No, that's just the A-Team.
Paul and other Paul. Paul. We don't even need lyrics. Who needs lyrics? Tosses.
Just keep saying our names.
Do Paul. Do Paul.
Dun Paul. I just think we need something that the listeners can really get on board with, something that they can all sing along to.
Something incredibly accessible. I think will be really good for them. Do Paul. Do.
Everybody, you know this one.
Some of that will do.
Fuck's sake. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Can't all be great. We should record just from the.
Can't all be great. I thought it went pretty well. Yeah, well, it can't all be good. Can't all be funny or interesting. Can't be interesting all the time, can you? You know that. Podcast that never misfiled anything. Not once. Not one time. I'm a vampire.
That was
I'm Paul Salt.
Oh gosh. Oh sorry, I thought you were confessing and you're in the middle of a really big moment.
Oh,
and,
mate,
you're finally going to share something with me. But...
that I am a blood-sucking freak.
I'm somewhere in the goddamn file.
And it's the final episode of this recommendations month.
Yes! This week's Terror from the Night comes courtesy of Big Pigeon Podcast. Reese and Corey discuss life, pop culture, and weird shit. Paul, what's the weirdest shit you've ever thought of and want to discuss in front of the people at home here?
Probably Nick Cage brushing his teeth in the morning.
Oof.
I can't even imagine such a thing.
I thought anyone letting Nick Cage film a love scene.
The most upsetting thing about Nick Cage is that right now he's doing something.
You don't know where.
Yeah, I don't know where, I don't know what it is. Ugh.
How it is. You don't even know when it is. He could be doing it now, but it's also 5 years ago. And that is why we need Cage Watch.
He's a troubadour.
Yes.
This week we shall be chewing over Nicolas Cage's Robert Bierman's Vampire's Kiss. It's fucking madness.
He was an ordinary guy.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Looking for an extraordinary love. It started with a kiss. A kiss that could drive you mad.
I hate interrupted love affairs, don't you?
Nicolas Cage.
The tortures of the damned!
Maria Conchita Alonso.
Shoot. Do it or I'll fire you. Do you understand? Not the floor, Alva.
And Jennifer Beals.
You are so pathetic.
Vampire's Kiss.
Strange stuff. I'll never do that again.
Director Robert Bierman's legacy seems to be that he almost directed The Fly and then did direct this. He's English, so afterwards he sort of returned to the retirement home of English directors. Inspector Lindley, The Bill, Holby City, etc.
You got to work with Danny Dyer.
In Holby City.
Probably.
Get this fucker a catheter! Oh, you sure I want Danny Dyer? You fucking laughing at me, mate. I'll fucking kick the shit out of you.
2 sugars, you treacle!
This is a comedy panel show. I'll still fucking murder you. The film has an unusually high Rotten Tomatoes score for the OGT of 61%, but the Metacritic is 31%, which makes no sense.
Oh, good, okay.
I guess most critics were happy to not like it.
5 stars, 1 star.
Karen James, writing for the New York Times, said, and sorry, this is just really weird. The thing that I'm reading from quoted this with a "the" at the beginning, but put square brackets around the T. Now, square brackets are usually where the editors had to put something in which the original article didn't have, right? So
it's just to put it in context out of the original article.
Right.
So why the T?
Why the T? Originally, this read, "He film is dominated."
Oh, maybe it was a capital.
Oh,
capital
capitalization.
T?
And you mustn't have it so that the public think somewhere Karen James reads this out-of-context citation of her review and it's like, I didn't fucking capitalize that T. Fucking slander. I'll have them.
I'm going to sue everyone.
Oh, this is why one day I'm going to end up in prison for misquoting Nicolas Cage.
Or Karen James.
Or Karen James, God no. Karen James, New York Times. The film is dominated and destroyed by Mr. Cage's chaotic, self-indulgent performance. I will believe it when I see it, sir. I've never heard of such a slander.
Everyone's allowed an opinion. Just, especially you, because they're so lovely.
They smell of lavender. Go to Screen Mayhem for a nice lavendery opinion. Kevin Thomas at the Los Angeles Times says, a sleek, outrageous dark comedy that's all the funnier for constantly teetering on the brink of sheer tastelessness and silliness. The fucking brink?
I know I am. I'm a vampire. I can prove it. You gotta go.
It's a very wide brink for this man.
It's teetering on the brink of the bottom of the fucking cliff. Having fallen off it.
He lives in the Truman Show. He's got no idea of what the brink actually is.
I'll take you to the brink, Kevin Thomas. Just try quoting Karen James if you want to know what that's about.
To the brink of dawn.
Oh, we did a Cage.
I did it. You see, I did it already. It's only been 10 minutes.
The film had a terrible box office, but it did become something of a cult classic. Ryan 400R at Amazon, the first Android reviewer we've had on the thing so far, after demanding immediate input, said, terrible and weird, but funny in a strange type of Nicolas Cage way. Don't know why it was an 18 certificate. Should be in the comedy section. That's if you can find it in a DVD shop, am I right?
Oh, God. That was insightful and comical and topical. Gosh.
Yeah. Why was it an 18 certificate? I think it's just the Cage. Can't let kids at this. Jesus.
No.
Not even adolescents. It'll wrong them forever. R. Leary 1 at IMDb said, I don't know how many times I've mentioned this movie at my job and find that no one has ever seen it. I mean, after the first time.
Guys. Oh, God. Here she comes. That's brilliant, actually, Terry. That reminds me of a little movie called Vampire's Kiss.
Has anyone seen it?
Guys, hello?
Give this movie a chance, people. He continues.
She scratches on the wall.
The camera angles, the shadows on the stairs, definite homage to Nosferatu. An entire atmosphere makes this movie a must-see. You've got to see this homage to Nosferatu, guys. Guys,
it's an homage to Nosferatu, like me eating a sandwich is an homage to sandwiches. It just is.
And even though it's only a movie, in quotation marks, I feel sorry for Alva and the torment she had to take at work and home. Surprised by the concept of empathizing with a fictional character, R. Leary.
Finally found the only movie that does that.
Hey, this character's quite funny. No, it's a movie. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Back to the void for me.
back to silence. Luckily, it's just a movie, folks. Oh, thank God. Watch this movie, damn it! It's getting a bit desperate at this stage. I can't believe it's only rated 5.2 on IMDb. Probably a younger crowd voted for it and don't understand classic movies. Yeah, that's what happened there. God, the millennials. Or maybe women voted low ratings on this movie because it reminded them of their office manager. LOL.
Fuck me. Which one? Put him on a pedestal 100 miles in the air so no one can touch him.
What a review. What a roller coaster review.
That was amazing. That was mega reviewing right there.
Thanks, R. Leary. Sounds like I'm saying R. Leary, like someone I know. Oh, not R. Leary, though.
He wouldn't do that. No. He wouldn't say such horrible things.
About Mr. Cage. About beloved Nicolas Cage. He came to Whitstable once. He weren't stuck up.
He weren't stuck up. There was a boat on the beach, and he picked it up and he just threw it at the moon.
He tore a postbox in half, and he ruined my accent forever, so it was forever destined to float around these isles, never quite landing on any particular place.
He went up to coast and chopped Ireland off the edge of it, and now it just floats in nothingness.
It just floats like Tosser. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Nicolas Cage is a threeman. I don't know how fair it is to count him as a threeman, though, because Ghost Rider and Outcast, absolutely, you fucking monster, you deserve this.
Yeah.
Vampire's Kiss? I don't know if that should earn him the ignominy.
That's very true, actually. That's a very good point. I think it would be unfair to give him a threeman thing for this, because it's not just a good performance in a bad film. It's a good performance in a good film.
He will remain a two-man in high esteem. In the same way, you know how when they kept prisoners, they said they were kept at Her Majesty's pleasure?
Yeah. Nicolas
Cage is kept very much at the Paul's pleasure.
OGT pleasure, yeah.
So, Paul, I'm a vampire. What's one thing about Vampire's Kiss that made you want to go fucking insane?
It was a realistic slice of office politics on offer in this film, Paul.
Ooh!
It was like watching David Brent again.
Oh, he's eccentric.
You know, when he said, "Fucking kill me, Alva. I will rape you. Just kill me."
Yeah.
Just like that bloke from Sex Lies of the Potato Man. He was great in that.
Love him. Love all of it.
Oh, do you remember when Martin Freeman went, phew?
That episode. I think that's what it was called. It's called that episode.
I actually like The Office.
Aw, bless you.
Thanks, mate.
Oh, what happens in it?
Oh, it starts...
Not The Office.
Oh, well, Martin Freeman goes, boo. and David Brent goes,
Oh,
and then there's a really...
classic 90s comedy.
But in Vampire's Kiss, there are some. It starts with moody shots of the city. After 5 minutes of this, we're in a psychiatrist's office.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Nicolas Cage is intimidating his psychiatrist with some crazy old rants.
with a fascinating fucking accent.
I brought this girl up to my place the other night. Really hot, you know. And we're on the bed, and suddenly this bat comes swooping down out of nowhere.
A bat?
Holy shit. But this really happened, but this part, I don't know if this really happened, or I dreamt it later, or what. I mean, I'm fighting this bat off all alone, and I'll be damned if I didn't get really turned on.
Yeah.
Doctor, I've come to have my accent explained to me. That was more than Keanu Reeves.
Explain to you. Whoa. According to IMDb, this is something that he did, the character did to impress people who were worth the effort.
Yes.
But that didn't really work, did it? Because he did it the entire film.
Yes.
But anyway.
I think he means the director, whom he was trying to impress, who was English.
We are a fucking eloquent bunch.
Fuck yeah, tits bum. He flashes back to a nightclub where he picked up a young lady using his, hey,
Yes.
shall we go and have sex face?
He uses under the volume of the music seduction techniques.
I love that.
Takes her back to his house and they have a creepy sex scene because there's some weird music playing and it's Nicolas Cage. And
That's all you need. Those are the ingredients.
then just after we've had a good 5 seconds of nipples,
Ooh.
the sex scene's over because a bat comes in and attacks them both. She runs out the apartment and sits in the corridor naked and laughing while the 5-year-old boy watches, who only turns up once more in the film.
Yes, the boy gets retrieved by his mother, who comes out in order to say, oh, I fucking hate living above Nicolas Cage. It's a terrible place to raise a child.
You have to star in all of his films.
He chases the bat out of there just about. No, he doesn't. He leaves. They both leave and they go spend the night somewhere.
Yeah.
The next shot has Nicolas Cage wearing glasses and I take a moment to compose myself. He's lovelorn.
I'm going to go and pick someone else up, I reckon. But not before going into work to completely fucking ruin the life of one of my subordinates.
Yes.
Alva, who's a lovely woman.
Aww.
As anyone who's seen the video Nick Cage loses his shit might have realised, there's a file that's gone missing.
Oh no!
Oh God, in the literary agency that he works for, apparently. God, imagine a literary agent, Nick Cage. What kind of books is he gonna fucking represent?
I'm recording all the audio books now.
I have a great feeling about this one. That's another mirror, mate. It's just your face doing what it does in front of it. It's gonna be bigger than Jesus.
All right, settle down. This is Angela Lansbury's Christmas favourite cookbook. Everybody, you're gonna need to preheat the fucking oven.
You've got to beat the fucking eggs. What deal is it?
We're gonna mince it.
We also need flour.
Oh, I could sieve flour for hours.
What? Oh, yeah, right.
You turn
Sorry,
me
the
on,
recipe.
ba-rum. You turn me on, ba-rum. You turn me up to gas Mach 5, ba-rum.
Gran, why are you crying? So there's a file missing, and it's Alva's job to find it in the middle of the biggest file of the century. And he really does sling a lot of abuse at her. He chases her around a bit, but then it's time for him to go and pick up another woman, which he does.
He does. He goes to a nightclub, and then he ends up back at his place having some weird squirmy sex with her.
Yeah. Oh no, she's a vampire.
Oh no, she bites his neck.
Yes.
The next morning, Nick Cage has managed to age 30 years. He's looking a bit fucking rough. And now he's going to act even crazier. It is so hard to do this, Paul. What order does this happen in?
So it's a really simple plot, really, because there's not that much given away. There are 3 main things.
Yeah.
One of them is him believing that he's turning into a vampire.
Yes.
The other is the sheer torrent of abuse that he throws at Alva.
Yes.
For not being able to find this file, and repeat occasions of him showing up in her daily life to coax her back to the office and then tormenting her at the exact moment that he's got her in the taxi. And his appointments with a psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's basically all it is. Sometimes he falls over in public in order to be instantly helped by a passing member of the public. He can just summon an old man or a high school kid from nowhere to come and help him up.
One of the things is he tries to patch things up with the first woman that he picked up.
Yes.
But he walks out on her in an art gallery.
Yes.
She asks him what he thinks, and he goes, "I'm going to take a piss," and then he just runs away, hails a taxi, and then tries to patch things up, and then is trapped just before he can leave the apartment because the vampire mistress who bit him has complete control over him and lures him back up to his apartment to feed on him once again.
I love the fact that he's so baffled by this missing file. He's never heard of such a thing, a file going missing. It's inexplicable to him, and he demands an answer from anyone.
Yeah, it's mostly Alva. He chases her out of the building, down a corridor.
Yes.
And she says, "I have a gun," and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then he walks off. And then the next scene is him in a boardroom with 5 fat white men, all going, "Tried to rape her." Amazing. Ugh.
He tries to get her forgiveness by saying to her, "Oh, mescaline, it sure is a hell of a drug." Which actually reassures her, and she's like, "Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
I did that in high school."
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, you're not a bad guy, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I'm gonna rape you. What? Sorry.
He's so eccentric.
Kill me now, please.
Yeah, it seems that he's goading her into killing him.
Yeah.
He's really just hoping that this extra clerical work will push her over the fucking edge. I can't stand looking over any more of these contracts.
He's at home, he's smashing up a few things, he expects his teeth to grow, but they don't.
Yeah.
So he goes to a store downtown to buy some fake teeth. Yeah. And he doesn't want to shell out $20 on a pair of nice.
He doesn't actually have it, right? He just goes through his wallet and just finds wands.
Oh yeah, of course, that's it.
Yeah.
So he has to settle on a nice pair of plastic cheapies that he then wears for the next 30 minutes of the film.
Yes, he manages to push his way into a nightclub where they keep all of the boob shots of the film.
Yeah.
He
pushes past Professor Rackman.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to fucking say, you dick.
Oh, we're too alike. Kill one of us.
And somehow this fucking approach actually works on a girl. He manages to charm a chick into consenting to him getting his face right up to her neck.
Yeah.
Until he tries to grab a boob, at which point she tries to fight back, but he's gonna do a murder on her.
Yeah, genuinely kill her with his plastic teeth. And he does. And then he's confronted by the vampire, Rachel.
Oh, after he throws up on Fraser's brother's table.
Yeah.
Just a thing he does.
Thanks, David Niles Crane, or whatever your name is.
That's the one.
David something Crane. David Foster Wallace Crane. And then as he's going out, he bumps into Rachel. And her partner. Fracas ensues.
He's very slowly dragged out of this nightclub. Why does it take us so long to get him out of here?
You fucking cunt! You're breaking up with me! After I sucked that fraud food dry! Look at her teeth, all of you! She's a goddamn vampire! She made me one too! Look at her teeth! Look at her teeth! She's a goddamn vampire! She made me one too!
Hang on, lads. Let's see where he's going with this. So, with all this, the film ends in a wonderful 10-minute sequence of him.
Yes.
He's picked up a stake or a bit of wood that he hopes to fashion into a crucifix.
Yeah.
And he accosts various well-meaning people.
Yes.
To try and get them to stab him in the heart. Or kill him with this wood. He goes to a couple of really, really nice, just young people. He goes up to a church and does a thing on the steps there. That's great.
He approaches me on the street and I just say, "Sorry, mate, I haven't got any change."
You go, then it follows you for a bit. You go and sit in a Cafe Nero and feel bad about it for a while.
I wish I still felt bad. He then comes to a wall, which he stares at, and imagines that he's having a final session with the psychiatrist, who forgives him for all of his sins, and tells him that actually her next patient is experiencing a very similar issue to him, and that he might like to have a bit of a chat with her and see if they're right for each other. He says that her name is Sharon, and as she goes to the door to open it to Sharon, the only thing I can imagine is going to be on the other side is Nicolas Cage in a wig. I'm very disappointed that it's not.
That it's a beautiful, wonderful woman.
All imaginary, by the way, this.
They find out they like all the same things. They finish each other's sentences, or Nick Cage finishes them as he's sort of grunting at this wall with his eyes half rolled back in his head. And then it cuts back, and they go off to get sushi. And just before they do, he confesses,
Well, I did rape someone a couple nights ago.
It's just a little id release, no use to worry.
Well, the fact is I did murder someone last night. I turned into a vampire. It's a long story.
Peter, people get murdered every day in this city. Do you think the world is going to stop?
Yeah, I guess, but the police and everything, what if they find me?
Would you stop worrying and just get on with your big romance? He hasn't even been arrested, and the big lug is carrying on. Now just get out of here, the both of you. Have a wonderful life together, and I will take care of the cops.
look at him, he's only killed someone and he's worrying about the police. Off you go. Shoo, shoo, shoo.
Go on, you little scamp. So they go in his mind. He wanders back to his apartment, where he suddenly has a massive falling out with the chick in his mind. He starts screaming at her. The last note that I have on the plot is, he's done it. He's finally turned all the way into Rik Mayall.
Leave me the fuck alone!
He goes up to his flat and starts freaking out. Alva's brother decides to come up in order to have a kill of him, I think, is the idea, or just to confront him. He gets up there and finds Nicolas Cage under the fucking sofa coffin, flips it over. Cage quickly grabs the steak and holds it up to his own chest. The brother decides to oblige and shove it into his chest. And Nicolas Cage dies screaming, and we get one last shot of vampiric Rachel telling us to dream of her. And then that's the end. I cannot, Rachel. I'm afraid my dreams are full of Nicolas Cage.
You knew the deal, Rachel, when you signed up to a Nick Cage-a-thon.
Fucking hell. That was Vampire's Kiss. And
It certainly was.
in case I haven't been able to fully sample enough of Cage to get across the impact of this during our plot description, let's just have a little gap here for some samples of Nicolas Cage.
I never misspelled anything! Not once, not one time!
The work's not just gonna go away, Alva. It never just goes away.
The goddamn contract is somewhere in those goddamn fucking files!
There is no one else in this entire office that I could possibly ask to share such a horrible job. You're the lowest on the totem pole here, Alva. The lowest. Do you realize that? Every other secretary who's been here longer than you, Alva. Every one. And even if there was someone here who was here just one day longer than you, I still wouldn't ask that person to partake in such a miserable job as long as you were around. That's right, Alva. It's a horrible, horrible job. Sifting through old contract after old contract. I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to. And you have to do it. You have to, or I'll fire you. Do you understand?
That's what the film was like.
Pretty much constantly, and I think it's a shining exception of the YouTube reel rule.
Oh, God.
I think. In that it's not one of those films where there are two moments and then the rest of it is pretty dull.
Battlefield Earth style.
It's one of the most energetic Nick Cage performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, consistently throughout. It's a film that is made by the fact that you have no fucking idea what's happening at any stage throughout what's going to happen next. Throughout the entire film. It's unpredictable. It's extraordinary. And it's entirely down to Nicolas Cage's performance.
I would say that the directing had a hand in it, and I think it was wielded Nick Cage in the absolute perfect way. Because I think there was a lot of obfuscation employed by Robert Bierman. There was a reluctance to let the audience know anything but the facts as seen by Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as subtle as Carruth, and it wasn't as abstract as Lynch. But it definitely sort of struck a really crazy, frenetic middle ground between the two.
It left room for you to come in and sort of figure out your own Cage. It's a fabulously entertaining film. Sort of relentlessly enjoyable. Because, I mean, Nick Cage, I wrote down, he's invented an accent. Who sounds like this? I wrote that it's a bit like Turl from Battlefield Earth. But it's entirely unique. I can't. It's like a whole new stereotype.
Was it meant to be a New Orleans approximation?
I thought it was meant to be English.
Or French, maybe. Maybe he was Tommy Wiseau.
It's just the energy he puts in is extraordinary. I'm going to get on to Nicolas Cage as a performer shortly, but just a little more on the actual film itself. Nicolas Cage and director Robert Bierman actually recorded a director's commentary back in 1999. I regret to say I didn't have time to listen to it, but I did have a look through a transcript of it and found some choice quotes with some interesting scenes.
I bet.
When the mimes appear on screen, there's a scene with mimes right outside the town, which I actually did read an interesting interpretation of, suggesting that it's just part of the craziness that people of New York City just accept, which therefore explains the ending when nobody's really looking at Cage, despite how crazy he is. But when the mimes appear, the director says, I don't know what this was about. I don't know what I was doing. I haven't got a clue.
Well, you know what? I remember at GCSE level having to analyze books and going, an author did not fucking choose actively to use the word baron. It's the word he used. And
I mean, he must have
actually
literally at some point decided to use the word baron. He just may not have.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have gone, yes, this properly encapsulates the ontological aspects of the novel Lord of the Flies. There are certain things that are just a product of the artist's mind, and really GCSE exams, you shouldn't couch the questions in that way because it's misleading for teenagers.
Look, just fuck off, GCSEs. That's the key here.
Yeah, for once, honestly. Iceland, let's just do it. But I think it's just, if it's a product of his mind, that's just the mood that he was in when he made this film.
Right.
And it just felt right that there were minds in this film. And if you want, that's a really wonderful interpretation of it. And I think that actually fits really well. Yeah. That's a really lovely addition to this New York that we inhabit in this film.
A New York in which Nicolas Cage needs to not be inexplicable. Which, to be fair, is what I hear of New York. You wouldn't bat an eyelid.
I mean, I think that the way it was directed and the gloriousness of the Nick Cage performance really, even though it was deterioration, I was still toying with the idea that it could have been a vampire bite, just because everything was so extreme. And I wouldn't have been surprised if it turned out that it actually was, and that he was just... And I loved that. I loved the fact that I knew in my heart. There's just a part of me that's like, maybe it will be insane.
Who knows? We're talking about Jennifer Beal, the actress who plays Rachel, the vampire. Cage remembers... I remember her being very interested in photography. And I remember I went to a museum with her and we looked at photographs together. A very, very intelligent woman, gorgeous, and very much in love with her husband.
Oh, believe me.
Just froze that in.
I know.
She's very fucking fond of him.
She's taken, fellas.
He just rubs a scar on the back of his neck. Well, the director says that, in kind of explanation for all of this is eerie, in fact. He says, when you're a first-time director, you always end up basically remaking your favourite film. I'd be interested to see how that applies to certain directors. But he said that in his case, that was Jean Cocteau's Orphy, a film that, by weird coincidence, I saw for the first time last week at the BFI South Bank. Oh. So that was eerie. Orphy's great. It's a very strange film about a man. It's a retelling of Orpheus, essentially. So it's about a man who travels to the underworld to reclaim his dead wife, only he can never look at her once he's reclaimed her, is the idea. So... it's a very strange sort of 1950s French expressionist surreal film, and it's very good, and it's got some incredible special effects in it. And there's a bit where Nicolas Cage runs down the street screaming, "I'm a vampire." So it's all... I can totally see where he's coming from.
You see where it came from now. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense now.
I just really appreciated the way the film left a lot to the audience.
Yeah.
And it didn't let me relax into the film. There wasn't a narrative there that was, oh, now he's becoming a vampire, or it was just a series of scenes, and it felt like it was intentional. And we've discussed this before, but intending to do that and it actually working is very, very different to not meaning to do that.
Yeah, it is a descent into madness. Even though it feels like Cage taking over this film, it still feels like this was the intended effect of a very strange man losing his mind to hypnotic effect.
This is the perfect film for the kind of, self-styled mega acting that Nick Cage brings to most films.
Yeah. Regarding the cockroach, he said, I saw it as a business decision. Because when people see... Oh, so he actually eats a cockroach during the film.
He eats a cockroach.
Yeah, for real. When people see the cockroach go in my mouth, it's like the bus blowing up in Speed. People really react. And it's like worth $2 million in special effects, and all I do is eat a bug. So it's good business.
That is a very well thought out response from Nicolas Cage. I really think I need to get to know the guy better.
That's a common thread here. He does seem to be very well considered and intelligent. But yeah, just he did it to titillate, basically.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
It's great.
Now, apparently, in the I'm a Vampire scene, Cage was running too fast for the camera to keep up with him. And so when he was asked to run slower, he said, well, if you're going to make me run slower, I'm just going to have to run like this. And that's why he runs like that.
Oh, God. Again, what a wonderful, beautiful mind thinking these things through. I mean, his physicality in this is truly incredible.
Yes.
There's something so precise about the way it's done. It really isn't reckless.
No, he's mimicking the stature and the body language of Count Orlok from Nosferatu, Max Schreck. He makes his neck just disappear.
Yeah.
He's got no neck. He's got a hump somehow, which I'm sure isn't special effects. It's just Cage physicality. And yeah, it's pretty remarkable. The last thing on this, which I will just say out of context, similarly to the Nun quote from The Nightmare on Elm Street, it comes care of Robert Bierman, who just likes to opine, I don't think most people got the joke in this scene, because they just thought it was a rape.
I mean, we know the context. What is it, listeners at home? You're going to have to watch the film to find out.
You're going to have to. I think Vampire's Kiss is a really fucking entertaining movie that you are not going to benefit from watching a highlight reel of. You need to watch the entire thing. It's an atmosphere.
It's a full descent.
Yeah, it's just an unpredictable journey into madness.
Yeah, it had a very singular grip on me throughout that just intensified. Genuinely like this film and would recommend heartily that everyone watch it. And I would really like it to get a reevaluation as not just... a so bad it's good Cage-a-thon.
Yeah. Well,
but seen as maybe a genuinely good film.
That's an interesting premise, the idea of it as a genuinely good film, because I think to really get behind that idea, we're going to have to look at Nick Cage as a performer. Now, he says of his own acting style, I had made a decision a long time ago that I wasn't only going to explore naturalistic acting. You can say that again.
Yeah.
I would do that sometimes, like I did in Joe. Joe, incidentally, being a very well-reviewed Nicolas Cage film from a couple of years ago that I didn't get around to seeing. But I also wanted to look at some of my other inspirations. I believe in art synchronicity, that you can do in one art form, you can do in another. So if I wanted to be abstract, like imitating Edvard Munch's The Shout, as I did in Ghost Rider, I would do that. If I wanted to be more operatic or Western kabuki, I could do it. And I'm not the first. Look at James Cagney in White Heat when he says, "Top of the world, ma." Was that realistic? Hell no. Was it exciting and truthful? Hell yeah. Or Richard Burton in Night of the Iguana, or Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. The list goes on about these old troubadours who embraced a kind of charismatic and larger-than-life stylization. A grandeur, if you will. It's just very hard for me to imagine Nicolas Cage saying all of that. I'm trying, in his accent of Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah, if we could maybe get a video of that so we could properly believe it, that would really help me.
If IndieWire could just release that fucking audio, please.
Please. For God's sake, release the files, IndieWire. But I'm not surprised, though. I remember a few years ago now reading the interview where he refers to what he does as mega acting.
Yeah.
And it hit me for the first time that this was a thought-out process, something that he actually considered.
Yes, it's not just him hamming it up for the sake of it.
And the more I read about him, his creative process, the way he decides these things. Yes. I'm not sure about the Jamaican accent in The Green Hornet, but I'm sure he'd have a very good academic reason for it.
Yeah. He's not just a madman. It's just... Yeah. It seems like that when you're not inside of his process. Yes. Like all great artists, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think there's something beautiful about that.
Yeah, the question is, larger than life, yes. Look, his acting style, when it's fully blown, when it is Castor Troy, when it is whatever this guy's character name was, I will learn to know it forever. Peter Lowe, when he's Peter fucking Lowe.
Yeah.
When he goes all in, when he's the bad lieutenant, it is extraordinarily entertaining in a way that is singular. Yes. Maybe Jack Nicholson is capable of similar sort of moments of sheer madness. Maybe that's
heights of dizziness for the audience.
Yes, and he can take you to places. The question is it good acting? Different acting, yes, but is he expressing some sort of truth? That's a tricky one, I think.
The way that I would like to start that discussion is by considering the different shades of Cage that we have in these films. It's not the same performance in all of these films. Castor Troy is a different extreme of madness to Mr. Bad Lieutenant, and the same as Peter Lowe.
Right.
And again, I think we come to his best performances are ones like that, where he does capture something so singularly and so perfectly. Crunch Time is when you're looking at the middling films where he's doing the mega acting and he's giving these larger than life performances, but they don't tend to work. I would call it good acting, but maybe not great aptitude sometimes to know when it's appropriate.
Right.
Because there are maybe some performances that would benefit from not being so crazy and so off the wall.
Potentially. I don't know. I'm struggling with this because I will say that he's an extraordinarily entertaining performer, uniquely so, but in terms of being a good actor, it depends on what you're looking at in terms of acting. And when I was younger, I used to offer a definition of acting that it was being able to represent two completely different characters. And I thought, that surely is the mark of a good actor. It's not necessarily, because a good actor could be someone like Tom Hanks, who is essentially the same in every performance he gives, and yet he is able to express so much of the sort of scope and spectrum of human emotion that is what makes him an excellent actor, is that he's able to make moments real. Nicolas Cage, he's not aiming for naturalism for the most part. Sometimes he is. For the most part, he's not. He's aiming for something true, but huge in a campy kind of way. And I'm just trying to think if I have ever... I mean, I've been so entertained by Cage, but have I ever felt it in that way, in the same way of, like, Min-Sik Choi's disintegrating smile in Oldboy?
What, you mean, have you been moved, or have you ever thought it was a performance that you thought... Because
there's the truth.
Adaptation...
Yes.
Is an incredible double performance.
But that's not too terribly crazy. I want to interrogate the idea of his crazy acting. Okay. He can do naturalism. Yeah. We've seen it before. We've seen it in things. A great deal of his work in Mandy is actually
for sure
somewhat naturalistic.
That's it. I was trying to think of it, and of course it's my favourite film of the year so far, Mandy, starring Nicolas Cage.
We will come on to that again in a bit, but in terms of just the big stuff, is it also good acting, or is it just entertaining performance?
I mean, I would say that Bad Lieutenant is fantastic acting. Yes, it's extreme in a lot of moments, but he's clearly captured the strife, the sort of PTSD damage that this character has. Even though a lot of it is bombastic and it makes you laugh because it is just so extreme. There's a definite working of a deteriorating mind there.
I think that is an obstacle for Cage, is the fact that initial reaction is it does make you laugh. I spent the whole of Vampire's Kiss laughing.
Oh yeah.
It was so funny. But is there also at its heart a good performance about a man on the edge losing control?
I also think it is, and I think it's helped in Vampire's Kiss by Robert Bierman. There are some nice abstract bits, and the scene where he's confessing everything to the psychiatrist in his mind at the end has a wonderful Lynchian feel to it. and I think with directing like that, you are able to see both sides of this performance, the different levels. It is tough because you do also go into watching a Nick Cage film expecting to laugh and expecting to be blown away by the craziness. But I think there are a lot of films out there, and same with rewatching Face Off recently.
Sure.
And just realizing what a great film it is, and how Cage's performance again is over the top, but it's believable in its own ridiculous way.
There's something of the truth in it, even though it's crazy.
And I think the important thing for me is these performances, even though I'm laughing hysterically sometimes, I'm not taken out of the movie. I don't find myself going, God, Nick Cage is crazy. I find myself completely entranced in this performance and the film I'm watching. And then later I can properly think about what Nick Cage means to me as a human.
Right.
But it sucks me in. It's not like Johnny Depp with the caricatures, which are very good caricatures, but also completely take me out of the moment.
I'll say that this character is very unique in as much as it really is a kind of chameleon job for Nicolas Cage, because perhaps because of the voice, the eyes, the hair. I wasn't thinking about Nicolas Cage much during this. I was just thinking about this crazy fucking character. He's a very singular performance. What he's doing is very unique, and I think Vampire's Kiss represents a very interesting study of Cage in this respect. In terms of determining whether or not he is just this wonderful entertainer or a real sort of artist. In terms of his own reputation, he had this to say on the nature of Cage Rage and the sort of internet meme thing, and the Nick Cage losing his shit video.
Yeah. Which
he initially said he was quite appreciative of because it drew attention to his earlier work, such as Vampire's Kiss. But he now says The issue is, with the advent of the internet, during these mashups where they pull these choice moments without the context of the whole film around it to support it, has created this memification, if you will. It's been branded cage rage, and it's frustrating. I'm sure it's frustrating for Panos, referring to Panos Cosmatos, the director of Mandy.
Yeah.
Who has made what I consider a very lyrical, internal, poetic work of art, to have this cage rage thing slammed all over his movie. It's one thing for me, because I'd like to think I could continue to work with Panos, but the internet has kind of done the movie a disservice. Now, I've not seen any cage rage stuff in relation to Mandy, and that does seem inaccurate, because there's only really two moments. Yeah, very unfair, because there's only really two moments I can think of in the entire film that represent the traditional notion of cage rage, which is sort of screaming, bug-eyed craziness, and that's when he's yelling something about a t-shirt during one of the fights, and then at the end when he's been hallucinating someone in his passenger seat, and then it cuts to him sort of smiling maniacally at the apparition. Those are the only moments, really. Apart from that, I would compare the performance to Ryan Gosling in Only God Forgives. Kind of quiet rage.
Well, I think now anything Cage does is cage rage to a lot of people.
Yes.
If he picks up a chainsaw and kills someone, that's cage rage.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's like using literally to mean figuratively.
Saying it like that, I mean, just because he picks up a chainsaw and cuts someone in half, suddenly it's the cage rage.
Well, he wasn't doing it. He wasn't doing it and going, I could eat revenge for hours. It's just
I saw you.
It's not. It's a really beautiful, touching, and mesmerizing film where Panos Cosmatos sort of discusses Jungian psychology in order to get over the death of his parents. It's not cage rage.
I thought you were going to say it's a really touching, beautiful moment when he cuts that guy in half with a chainsaw.
It was because I believed it when Nick Cage did it. And that's why he's such a great actor. Yeah. It is a shame, I think. And hopefully we can contact Nick Cage somehow, or somebody related to Nick Cage with this podcast, because I do think a reevaluation of him as an actor is in certain films is needed. Did you come across what Ethan Hawke said about Nick Cage?
Well, that he was a troubadour. Is what I read.
Oh yeah, of course you did say
mesmerised.
troubadour. He's the only actor since Marlon Brando that's actually done anything new with the art of acting. He's successfully taken us away from an obsession with naturalism into a kind of presentation style of acting that I imagine was popular with the old troubadours.
Yeah.
And I agree with Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, there's something to that. It's definitely fucking magnetic. It's very much worth watching, and Vampire's Kiss is a stunning example of what he does when he really goes all in.
Yeah.
Which is... yeah, a spectacle worth seeing. Alright, shall we quickfire? Quickfire. My first one is Nick Cage's steely blue eyes.
God, yeah. Do you know what? I've had Nick Cage's face burned onto my mind's eye for so long now that I forgot he was once young. What a face.
What a face that man has.
What a gaze.
And is.
Yeah. His laugh, his accent, just amazing. When you pointed it out to me that he laughs in an accent.
Yes.
Oh, man.
The bat, the terribly fake bat, really made me jump when it flew in through the window. That was a surprise, because it happens, I think, in a shot of the two of them just making love, and it's like, ooh, look at those butts, and then suddenly,
Yeah, that was, that whole scene with the psychiatrist when he's talking about that, there were just some, just superb, sublime lines.
Oh, sure, yes, absolutely, but then she left the room, and I came down. I was in Mortal Kombat with a fucking bat. Give me a break.
Well, my favourite line from that is when he's talking about how horny he was from having to fight off the bat.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just angry and tired, but also horny. It's fucking wonderful. I loved Nick Cage's long anticipatory reaction as Alva tells him she looked in the files that he already looked in. He puts one hand on the wall and looks away from her with his eyes closed, sighing loudly. Oh, sorry, I'm just so scatterbrained.
I love the old woman in the bathroom who objects to Nicolas Cage, but not enough so to stop doing whatever she's doing.
What the hell is he doing in here? What the fuck is going on?
You don't want to be ashamed of yourself. I need to go.
The way he interacted with the empty space after being fed on by the vampire. So just imagining that she was there the morning after, the first time, it's like holding that coffee out over the bed and his hands suddenly shaking violently with the sound of the crockery. And then inviting Rachel into the shower and be like, no, I've got to go to work. Oh, okay. And then just giggling like a schoolgirl as this invisible person comes in. Just another aspect. aspect of the brilliance that is his performance.
When he's doing his sort of physicality around the line, not once, not one time. Again, I've said it before, but it's very Rik Mayall.
Yeah.
God, Eddie,
I'm Rik fucking Mayall.
Let's do it.
when he's talking to Alva and trying to explain the importance of getting this file, and he does his.
Am I getting through to you, Alva?
He leans down and points towards her like a crazy game show host.
Yeah.
I think that was the first moment for me where I went, yeah, here we go.
At the moment when he appears at Alva's window and says, is trying to charm her out of her house and says,
Let's look. Soup.
I thought to myself, I'll let him in.
Yeah. Go on.
I want to befriend him now because
he's not going to ruin everything again.
Now, look, Soup.
I really like the occasional horror stings. I thought they were quite dark and threatening, especially when when Rachel the vampire came over. There was something very menacing about that. How even though it might have been all in his head, just how enthralled he was to her wily ways.
Yeah, I was genuinely overjoyed when she actually found the contract.
Yeah,
it was such a relief to me because I was so upset for her.
Yeah,
in general, that when she found it, I was just like, oh God, it's over.
Yeah,
it's fucking over at last.
It can end. He's going to be happy now. He's going to make friends with Alva. They're going to fall in love. Oh, just him pursuing Alva and jumping on the table.
There you are!
Well, in a later moment where he's chasing Alva, when he skids past the door and hits the bin, it was really quite an affecting moment of tension. It looked accidental, which is excellent for a stunt. And then it's immediately followed by that brilliant chase down the stairs, where it's just like shots of the banister and hands going down it, repeated.
Yes.
It was very dynamic. I liked it.
Yeah, that was great. Alva made me feel really sad throughout.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
It's a very naturalistic performance from her.
Yeah, genuinely horrible.
I really like him frantically tearing into his plastic teeth package. He just goes to a bench, sits for a second, and then just starts really digging into it.
Yeah.
In fact, that whole scene made me write down, oh, okay, it is a comedy. That was the moment where it occurred to me it's not just Nicolas Cage derailing this with his performance. This was meant to be like this.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. When an elderly employee says of Peter Lowe in the film, he's so eccentric. It's like what I imagine a 70-year-old would say having seen a Nick Cage film for the first time. His performance in front of the mirror where he can't see his own reflection, but everyone else can. It's wonderful.
What did I mean by therapist's hunk?
Oh, she's dating a nice younger man.
Fuck yeah, she is.
90s cokehead man.
He calls her at home and she's got a hunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Fuck yeah.
Good going, love.
It's where being a strong, empowered, intelligent woman gets you.
Gets your hunk. They come in the post. Care of the Queen.
Along with your doctorate certificate.
Please find enclosed one hunk.
Ooh, he is a hunk. You don't know, it's very much a hunk roulette with this thing, but I'm very pleased with Fabio.
Do I need to do stuff with him? No, he spends most of his time cleaning his own clothes and drying them with his hands.
Hunk stuff.
Hunk stuff. What other hunk stuff is there? He strolls around a building site with his top off.
Drinking Diet Coke by offices dominated primarily by women. The line from Alva's mum, now get dressed and get your little ass into the city, is such a strange thing for an elderly Hispanic mum to say to her daughter.
Get that sweet ass into the work. And she slaps her on the ass really hard.
That tight, sweet butt.
Her line about how we've all had terrible bosses did prompt me to write down the line, but mine is Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I've got the note that his sofa coffin looks super cozy.
Yeah.
He's got like a little mattress under
pillows
there.
Underneath his back, yeah. Him walking around with those big old cheapy teeth in. Just every scene of it was amazing, with close-ups of his goofy face with the teeth sticking out. And there's one when he's in the phone booth and he's trying to organise the earliest possible appointment with his psychiatrist. And he's got the teeth in. It's a wide-angle lens. And every time he says something, it's like, Peter, do you have a cold? A cold. Yeah. And when she's trying to move the appointment to the earliest possible time, he keeps saying sooner.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, I can do Monday at 9. And he does his little Nick Cage collapsing face and goes, sooner. It's so good. I can't, I don't have words to describe how beautiful some of these moments are, Paul.
Throughout the film, I really like the sort of shots of 80s dirty New York, pre-Giuliani New York, with jazz playing. It's a nice sleazy kind of feel. I like it.
Before he cleaned up this town. See? I do. It's lovely.
I really like the way that New York City is used throughout the film, because the director said that he wanted to create this sense of madness throughout, which is why almost every shot of Cage's character is framed by the city looming large behind him. When he's in the psychiatrist's office, when he's in his own office, he's got these big windows behind him and you can see the city. And one really interesting thing is that the film starts off with the city out of focus, sort of blurry behind him. But the crazier he gets, the more sharp and focused the buildings get.
Huh.
So it's like the more overbearing the city is on his mindset, which is a really interesting detail, I think.
Yeah, wow. See, this is what I mean. It's all had a lot of thought that's gone into it.
Yeah.
This one. Listen, boy. I really like the club scene.
Yeah.
I like the heavy bass and the closeness of it. See, even before you include Cage's just total lunacy, there are loads of really close, sweaty, intimate shots of people dancing with a nice, beefy 80s drum beat. It's a good club scene.
Yeah, and I really like the girl he ended up killing. She was very playful. I liked how she went along with his vampire teeth and sort of joked around with him. That was fun. That was cute.
Yeah.
And finally, my last good one would be it's one last Cage quote for the ages. I literally almost went to close my notepad there. One last story of Nicolas Cage. He's having his imaginary conversation with a wall that he imagines to be his psychiatrist.
Oh, yeah.
And it keeps cutting between what he says inside of the fantasy to what he's saying in real life. And I think she's going through qualities that Sarah has. Not Sarah, who is it? Sandra.
Yeah?
Sharon, sorry. It's the qualities that Sharon has. And at one point when it cuts to real life, he just says,
Incredible. Well.
Just really sort of bloodily and in a really crap way. Wow.
The contrast between those two scenes is incredible.
Yeah.
It's just so perfectly sharp. The hyper-saccharine certain moments of Inland Empire and Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
It's that. And with everybody smiling and laughing. And that's the exact same three things I like. And then it cuts to the dreariest shot of him with blood on his face and his shirt, his hair all mussed.
It does. It might have escaped your notice the extent to which his character has fucking deteriorated over the course of this film, in which case this really does sort of bring it back into sharp focus, just how different he started and ended this thing. He's essentially started as Keanu Reeves in Bram Stoker's Dracula, and then ends as Gary Oldman from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
It's such a transformation, and it's just such a perfect juxtaposition for the end of that film.
Definitely. Okay. Well, that was Vampire's Kiss. Did we get anything from the one good team?
From the OGT? No.
From the Okay, fine.
Unless someone's got in touch in the last few hours.
We're so desperate. Unless somebody's gotten in touch, like, since last time I looked. No. But maybe somebody has now.
Wait. Oh no, we do have one.
Is it me?
Shut up, everyone.
Shut up!
Atomic Content at Atomic Content, thank you, sir, said, Lord everything. The "it doesn't just go away" scene is my fave, but so many epic scenes. Thanks, Atomic Content.
Yay, thanks. Thanks for taking the time, because,
yeah,
it really is fucking amazing.
Thanks, OG team.
Alright, well, we don't have a one better thing, because it's this.
No.
Go watch this. Go watch Vampire's Kiss. It's not a case that you'll be bored like when you watch The Room. It's compellingly entertaining throughout. You won't regret it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Everyone go do that.
And then, after you've done that, come back, because by then it'll be time for the next episode of One Good Thing. And where can all the boys and vampires find out about that?
Or they can go on Vampire Facebook and Vampire Twitter, only operational between the dreaming times. And you can only say spooky, dramatic things in a sexy sort of devil's advocate way. So it's very much unlike Twitter.
You are still allowed to say things that will come back to absolutely fucking haunt you in about 20 years' time. Feel free to do that. Still on Vampire Twitter.
Yes, just to reiterate, this is Vampire Twitter.
Vampire Twitter. Never delete anything until it's just too late.
But there are... Yes, but there, OGT Pod, you can send us an email at ogtpod@gmail.com. No vampires allowed, soz, segregation still in full effect. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube, and probably some other ones that have bootlegged our episodes for free, for nothing.
What? As opposed to all the ones that officially do it for free, for nothing.
Yeah.
How dare they? Coming over here, taking all our nothing.
Well, yeah, a million times nothing, my sir, is still nothing, unfortunately. But we can all share in that great nothingness that the pools bring to cinema every week on all those platforms I said.
Join our nothing.
Briefly above. And the best thing you can do is leave a positive review on iTunes and share it with a friend. My novel Dockhead is available on Amazon for $5.99. The OGT jingles from episodes 1 to 50 are available on Bandcamp, ogtpod.bandcamp.com. Very soon, going to be another collection.
Yeah.
Featuring such classics as the Equilibrium bit. So, look forward to that, everyone.
Yeah.
Paul, what about you? What are you doing?
Reviews. Same place. Go.
Wow.
Screen Mayhem. And also, we've just uploaded an official interview with me about my experience of the 62nd London Film Festival. So go there and listen to me talk even more about Suspiria.
Fantastic. And I can't recommend enough the interview conducted by Paul Salt with Mr. Matthew Holness of Garth Marenghi fame, who very recently released his horror film, Possum.
Oh, God. Yes.
And horror doesn't feel like it captures it well enough. Go see it, but also listen to the interview, because he's a fascinating guy. And
yeah, he is.
Paul's such a sexy interview guy.
Fuck yeah. We were both shirtless by the end of it.
You could hear that. Who says that audio is a limited medium?
You can very clearly hear the sound of a finger circling a nipple. It's like that whirring sound you get with a finger around glass.
You could actually just hear Matthew Holness's naked body just there. You're just being still in the air.
The presence, the awe. Like the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
So you're saying that you evolved after that experience?
I did. I certainly am a different man now. Much more merengue. I'm Paul Salt.
I'm Paul Goodman.
And remember, the one good thing about Vampire's Kiss is Nicolas Cage gracefully skidding past the door.